Hi, CNT125, a Voice over IP Network Lab. First podcast, we went over our game plan. So again, have your notes handy for your game plan. Next part here now, we're going to get into connecting up and configuring. So first thing, I'm going to cable up, but I'm really only going to cable up the router and switch for now. I'm only going to cable the router and switch for now. The phones we're going to add later. Okay, so don't even bother about getting your phones yet. If you were to plug them in and power them up at this point, it actually causes problems because the phones try to register and there's no config for them. And then they just sit there like a little, splinter or a thorn dug in, and they're really a nuisance to deal with. So don't even get them yet. And we're really only going to cable up the router and the switch at this point. So as I look at my rack, that's all I have cabled. I'm going to console into my switch and put my switch config on. And it's very similar to what we've done before. We're going to add one little twist to it. All right, so I've consoled into my switch. So let's do enable here. We're going to do config T. Let's put a host name on this guy. And we'll do like voice over IP switch kind of thing. We want to do our IP address, so interface VLAN 1. IP address on this, we're using 172.16.02. 192.0. We're going to say no shutdown. No shutdown. Okay, so that IP address should now be active. Let's now add our two VLANs. We need VLAN 10 for PC and VLAN 20 for voice. So VLAN 10 name PC. VLAN 20 name voice. Okay. We're now going to take our first 10 ports on the switch and we're going to set them up so that the PCs can access VLAN 10. So let's start that normally. Interface range, VSD 0/1-10, switch port, access VLAN 10. Great. So now any PC plugged into these 10 ports will belong to the PC VLAN, if you will. But if I look back at my map, we're also going to have phones plugged into the switch, and we're going to have PCs plugged into the phones. Now, this is very common for businesses to do this because you end up using one switch port, which is a lot more economical. But I have PCs and phones connected together. So we need to tell the switch that this might happen. And I need to let it know, okay, the phone is going to go on what VLAN and the PC is going to go what VLAN, so it knows how to tag that traffic. So the second part of this config, we're going to turn right around and say switch port, not access, but voice VLAN 20 for the phones. We're going to say, okay, if there's any phones, put them into the VLAN 20, and the voice here is the key. It now recognizes that if there's a phone there, that, oh, okay, the phone is going to go in VLAN 20. So we're going to say switch port voice VLAN 20. And now both of those, I'm going to do exit. I'm going to do a show run right now. If I look at this, both of those VLANs are stacked on top of each other under that port. But if I look closer, I'll say access VLAN 10, voice VLAN 20. So a phone plugged in is going to get dropped into the VLAN 20, which we've allocated for phones. And if a PC plugs in, it's going to get dumped into VLAN 10, which we've allocated as our PC VLAN. All right, now we're not done. We need to finish our switch yet. We need trunking. So let's do config T, interface, VSD 0/24, switch port, mode, trunk. Okay, so now if I do my show run, let's do exit. We'll do a show run here. We should now see our name up here. Here's our names, voice over IP switch, yay. Again, there's my VLANs stacked on top of each other, and look for that. Look for the access 10, voice 20. If you don't type this correctly, you're only going to see one VLAN here. So make sure you get the access VLAN 10, voice VLAN 20. Make sure you get that. That's why I highlighted those green for you. Here's my trunking on 24, and there's my IP. I'm now going to say copy, run, start, so I can save this, and my switch is done. Next podcast, we will come back to the router.